So this is Eric Vernicel. I'm a head men's basketball recruiting coach with NCSA Sports, and I've got Coach Reed Nosbisch on the phone. He's a head coach at Elgin Community College. It's a junior college Division II school in Elgin, Illinois. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. We appreciate you taking the time here to educate our families and talk to us a little bit about ECC. To jump right into it here, tell us a little bit about ECC and what makes it a unique school and basketball program.
Well, first, for those who don't know, we are located in Elgin, Illinois. We're about 40 to 45 minutes west of Chicago, about 40 minutes east of Rockford, so we're kind of in that central location between the two cities. We are a two-year community college that offers university transfer programs, career tech programs, vocational certificates. To have people understand, we have 15 high schools that technically feed into Elgin Community College. It's what we would consider our in-district high schools. Some private high schools, some public high schools. We have 17,000 full and part-time students. It's almost about a 50-50 break, full-time and part-time. Annual tuition is probably a huge one for us. It makes us unique. If you are an in-district resident, your annual tuition is going to run you about $3,600. And we have a unique situation that we are very, very affordable and so forth. And then the other part that I think is very unique about our school, because we are one of the larger community colleges in the state of Illinois, in 2009 we had voters approve a $178 million bond that helped finance renovations and expansions onto the college. And so it allowed us to grow even bigger, allows us to have more programs and transfer programs and career tech programs and so forth. A little bit about our basketball program. This past season, we were 21-10, ranked as high as number 20 in the nation. We finished 4th in the nation for fewest turnovers given up per game, 22nd in the nation for assists per game. In 2007 and 2012, we were we made the Region 4 championship game. And to kind of understand that, basically we made the final 32 teams in the country. We were playing to go to the national tournament. The national tournament for junior college will consist of 16 teams, and so we got to that game and fell one game short. And then probably one of the things that I'm most proud of, over the last 8 years, we've had 3 academic All-Americans, and in order to do that over 2 years, you got to have over a 3.75 overall GPA. And we've also had 18 players in my 8 years continue on playing at 4-year schools. And then one of the other big things that I'm very proud of about our program that makes us unique is 2.5 years ago, we became a member of what's called Friends of Jacqueline. And Friends of Jacqueline is a program where a college team adopts a young girl or boy who has brain cancer. And so 2.5 years ago, our program adopted a family out of Huntley, Illinois, who has a 3.5-year-old boy who has brain cancer. We make him a part of our program. He's part of our starting lineups when they make it to home games. They come out to practice as a family. We help fundraise for them and so forth. And so I think that helps us building in our own community. So I think that makes us a unique situation as well.
Awesome, Coach. That's a really great cause and really great information there about Elgin Community College. Running into the next question here, what are some goals that you set every year for your program? I know you said you had some winning seasons here in recent years. So what are some goals that you guys set every year to start the season?
We never set a long-term goal. Our main goal of our program is to be what we call productive in the 3 C's. We want to be productive in the classroom, we want to be productive on the court, and we want to be productive in the community. That's our whole mission statement as far as our program. I grew up in this town, and so I was actually a player at Elgin Community College, and so I tell kids all the time that I think the hardest thing for a player to ever do is play for a coach who played at the same school, because I'm passionate and I've seen it from the player side and the coaching side. And so as far as the community goes, I want us to be able to give back to that. As far as the classroom goes, I want those kids to be successful, because basketball is not going to be a lifetime thing. And then on the court, obviously, we want to do as well as we can. And so what we do is we break our season up into basically 4 parts. We have what we consider the exhibition season, the non-conference season, the conference season, and then the NJCAA tournament. We never want to look into the next section until we complete the section we're in. You know, we don't want to talk about winning a conference title or a national title during the exhibition season. Our main goal is to get better every day, be better than we were yesterday. And if we do that, we feel as though that at the end of February, if we take care of our roles and do our jobs and so forth, we will be playing for a conference title. And then the other big goal, I think, for our program is we're kind of in a unique situation compared to a four-year school is we want to help our players improve on their individual skills as well. Our main goal after we talk about our team stuff is to make that individual a better basketball player and student so that he's more marketable to a four-year school. We kind of are a spot where kids who may be late bloomers physically and so forth can come and build that muscle in our weight room program and our lifting program and so forth, so that when you're done here in 2 years as a student athlete, the goal would be to get you the next level playing wherever that level might be, whether it be at the NAIA level or the Division III or II or I.
It's definitely some good goals, and it sounds like you guys have had success with those goals here in the recent past. To kind of piggyback off of that question there, when you guys are setting up your goals for your program, in recruiting student athletes, what do you look for in a student athlete to help you guys reach those goals?
I think the biggest thing we're looking at is a player has to understand that every college is going to have a style or a system. When an outsider looks at our program, they're going to see a style, and within that style there's going to be a system. We may play fast or we may play slow. That's what an outsider looking into our program may say is our style. As far as the system goes, to me, that's a breakdown of what our style is. It's what our sets are. It's what our defensive philosophy is. If you see us pressing, that's a style. But there's a reason we're doing it, and so we're looking for kids that are going to fit our system. We're kind of in a unique situation compared to four-year schools in that we have a quick turnaround. There's not a lot of time for incoming freshmen to learn that system or style. They may be asked to produce right away. And unfortunately then, after 2 years, we lose those kids. And so it seems like every other year or every year, we're having to reintroduce all of those things. And so you're trying to find those kids who are going to pick up on terminology and an understanding of the game and so forth to fit what our system is. Now, we also have a belief in our program that we want kids that play hard, smart, and together. And if we look back at the team that we just had this past year, when we talk about not having very many turnovers per game, that's your playing smart. We talk about being one of the leading teams in the nation as far as assists per game, we're talking about playing together. And so, what a high school kid needs to understand is that when a college coach comes into the gym and I'm looking at you, I'm not looking at your stats. I'm looking basically at what's your system your high school's running. Does it kind of equate to what we're doing? Will you fit in? And then I think the biggest thing that kids have to understand is a college coach, no matter what level we're talking about, is looking at your motor. How hard do you play? What a high school kid doesn't quite understand is when they get to a college, there may be 12 or 14 guys on that roster, and I'd be willing to bet, depending on what level we're talking about, 10 of them at least were high school starters. And so they have to understand that when they come into a college, it's going to be even more competitive for their minutes and so forth. And so that is where that motor comes into play. How hard can you go? And then some other parts that we look into are your academics. If I bring a recruit in for a visit and we begin talking about academics, I'm looking for what kind of goals do you have as far as profession in your career, what do you want to major in? And when you see a kid that's determined there, then I know that you're heading towards college for all the right reasons. And then I think another big area is when a recruit comes in on a visit for us, we like to set that kid up to spend some time with our current players. A recruit will act a little bit differently towards me than he will my own players. And so my players will then come back and talk to us when that visit's over about, do they feel he'll fit in chemistry-wise? Is he a good fit? Is he not a very good fit type of thing? And so we're looking for a kid that's going to fit in with what we have. It's so important at the college level that your chemistry is very, very good and your guys get along. Ultimately, when you're putting a college team together, it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. The better the pieces fit together, the better the picture is going to look at the end. And then, of course, every college team is looking for height. So when I walk into a high school summer league or an AAU tournament or whatever, the first thing is the eye test. We're all looking for bigs and guys that can play in the post and so forth. And, that's kind of the common stuff. But, I think the biggest thing for a college recruiter looking at a kid is what's that motor? How hard can that kid play? Because we can teach the skills, but sometimes you can't teach the heart.
When you guys are looking at a student athlete, it's a little bit different at the junior college level for when you guys start recruiting. Can you talk a little bit about that and what your timeline is like for ECC?
For us, we understand that for the most part, their goal is not to play at the junior college level. Every kid's goal is going to be to play at the Division I, the Division II level, and so forth. And so our recruiting kind of starts a little bit later than a four-year school. We'll spend a lot of the summer going around to some high school shootouts or some AAU tournaments, and we'll take some looks at some kids, and we'll take notes on those kids. And those kids don't even really have a clue that they're kind of on our radar. Where we actually begin our heavy recruiting is around the Thanksgiving time, maybe Christmas time of your senior year. That may be when we kind of introduce ourselves. We understand at our level, we're probably not going to be the number one choice. We'll never get a verbal commitment from a kid prior to his senior year. And so we try and get that contact made during the Thanksgiving, Christmas tournaments and so forth is a big time for us. We'll be the school that kind of gets a verbal commitment out of a senior sometime around March, April, when they realize that, we might be the best option, and when families have a chance to sit down and look at their own finances and so forth and figure out that, the community college or junior college route might be the best for them. So, for us, kind of the question we were just talking about, it's going to be a lot on our needs as well, too. As a community college, our main focus at Elgin Community College is going to be in-district kids in those 15 high schools that feed into us.
Awesome, Coach. Appreciate the information there. To kind of wrap up the podcast here, to help out our student athletes on the network, just to give them a few do's and don'ts, that they can think about while going through the recruiting process, something that as a college coach you would advise them on.
I think one of the biggest do's is that no matter where you are and what you're doing, you always have to play hard. Coaching at the college level is a big network thing, and a lot of us know each other. I have a personal friend who's a Division I head coach out on the East Coast, and if there's someone from this area that they're interested in, he calls me to try and get information from me. And so that student athlete might not even know that I'm in the gym watching basically every kind of move he makes to find out, can he play at that level. And so I think a big thing is the kid may be sitting there thinking, well, I'm not going to Elgin Community College or whatever, but you never know who we know type of thing. And I give recommendations out to four-year schools all the time on kids. And so I think a big do is always go as hard as you possibly can. I think another do is you always want to show interest in multiple schools. Never put off a school because you think you probably aren't interested in. When that happens at our level, then we kind of move on to the next recruit, and then if you ever want to come back to us, you may kind of have already been replaced by somebody else that we went on and recruited and so forth. And then I think a big do also is, as a student athlete, when you find a school that you're interested in, ask to come into a practice, watch a practice, go watch a game. The college game is so much different than the high school, from just, the 35-second shot clock to the 10 extra feet up and down the court and the strength and size of guys and so forth. And so try and go see as many games as possible. I think that a lot of kids would be amazed at how high level the junior college level is, or even the Division III level of how good that is. And then another do, I think, would be to always talk to guys that are in that current program that you're considering going to. Kids don't lie to kids, and so some of our best recruiters in my program are my players. And so, spend some time with guys that are currently playing in that program, or you might possibly know a former player in that program, and just sit and talk to them about their experiences, not only basketball-wise, but academically, because when you choose a school, you're not just choosing that basketball program, you're choosing that school academically as well. And basketball eventually will end. Hopefully kids have a chance to play professionally and earn a living that way, but eventually that's going to end, and now you have to fall back on your degree. As far as don'ts, some of the mistakes that I see kids make today, unfortunately, it's mostly on social media. I don't think kids realize that when we as college coaches are recruiting them, that we do spend time kind of searching them on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And quite honestly, when we talked about the 3 C's of our program, the community would be a big one. And how kids handle themselves and the language that they use on Twitter or whatever, it may be hurting their actual recruiting chances. And they may not even know it. Coaches may not bring it up, or if a student athlete has their Twitter account blocked or whatever, to me as a recruiter, then you're trying to possibly hide something from me. So I think one of the biggest don'ts is you really have to watch yourself these days and what you're doing on social media. And then I think another do, to go back to the do's, is make sure you research that program really, really well. Take a look at their current roster. How many freshmen do they currently have on their roster? Some schools will carry a varsity and a JV program. And your JV program may only get 10 or 11 games. And so if you get placed on that JV team, then you may be only getting 10, 11 games. And so to me, that's some big do's and one big don't.
Awesome, Coach. Really appreciate that information. Really good stuff there for our student athletes to think about, especially the social media aspect as that becomes more and more a part of the recruiting process. To go along with that topic, I want to give you a chance now to let kids on our network know how they can get in contact with you on Twitter, what ECC's website is.
Yeah. Student athletes can find us online at www.elgin.edu. That will be our homepage for the college. You can search around on there and find transfer programs, career tech programs, and so forth. And then there will be a link directly on there for our basketball program and other athletics as well. If you're interested in other sports that we may have, you can find us on Facebook under Elgin Community College Men's Basketball. That's kind of an open page that kids can go to and to search around on it. You'll find pictures on there of our campus basketball program. We try and keep the community updated as much as possible on, recent verbal commitments and where our guys are transferring to play. And then we also have a Twitter account under Spartans Men's Hoops. And you can kind of follow one of my assistant coaches who actually runs that page as well. If you are interested in our basketball program, on our homepage at elgin.edu, when you click on athletics, there's a questionnaire right on there.
Awesome, Coach. Really appreciate the time today. A lot of good information there, especially, not a huge talked about subject at the junior college level, so we really appreciate you taking the time today and educating our student athletes here.
I appreciate it as well. I always enjoy talking about our program.